Hi, and welcome to The Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinny, and on this episode, I am joined by John Katz, founder of portable blender supplier Blendy, to discuss his product, how he uses social media to promote it, and solicit trade show tips, and much more. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Vinny. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're up in Massachusetts, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. It's been a couple warm weeks lately, but usually it's pretty cold nowadays.
Yeah, it's interesting. The East Coast we were talking the other day about possibly going skiing, and I was like, we have not had any snow in the Philadelphia area. And it's crazy because I know all the ski resorts are suffering right now. They're trying to produce, the snow on their own. And it's been a really bad ski season here in the Northeast. Although the West is getting pummeled, the East is just, I've never experienced a winter this mild and this snowless.
Yeah, we haven't had any snow that it like requires you to shovel it out, so that's a mild winter. We have 60 degrees coming tomorrow as well. That's pretty
Yes,
crazy.
we do too. I think the next couple days are going to get uh, really warmer than it's been in the 60s
Yeah.
in February. And I think next week it's going to cool off a little bit. But still, it's very, very strange winter it's been here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Anyway, John, I'm going to talk to you about your product Blendy, how you use social media to promote your product. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this industry, who you are, anything you feel you want to give to the listeners?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm John Katz. Thank you, Vinny, for introducing me. I came up with Blendy in my college dorm in 2016. And basically, the idea started with just having a shaker bottle and having clumpy protein shakes after every workout. And was just, said to myself, there needs to be a better solution that, is actually a shaker bottle, but like a portable blender bottle, so to speak. So went back to my dorm, drew up like a CAD drawing type thing of what it might look like. And then, 2 years later, we had our final working manufacturing ready unit ready to go. And that's downplaying it a lot. In between, there was many different prototypes and working with engineers and such. But by 2018, we were selling, and it was by no means, a great product. It was just we wanted to get out there and see if there was a portable blending market out there for people who are like me. And then flash forward to 2020, we got an inquiry across my email for 400 branded units to Gatorade, and I said,
Wow.
"Whoa, that's cool, right?" I was used to basically just people direct to consumer.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
I didn't know that there was like a wholesale market and there was promotional markets and such. I had no clue, and so this firm came to me and they said, "Oh, we have this opportunity for 400 for Gatorade." And I said, "Yeah, sure, would love to work on that with you." And we basically sent them 400 black units. They imprinted on one of the bottom cups with the Gatorade logo, and then they sent it out to their influencers. And I really didn't think too much of it other than, wow, that was a great win. And then a year later, I think it was about a year later, we had another inquiry from Comcast from Promo Shop, the distributor Promo Shop for Comcast. And yeah, we did a deal with them and got that done. And I said, you know what? Like, how do I find more?
Sure.
How do
Yeah.
I find more of this? Like, where do I go? How are you guys finding products? Is there like an Amazon of promotional products? And they
Well, looks like we lost John there for a second. Hopefully, we'll get him back. Yes. All right.
sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, John. There
So
you are.
so they said, yeah, so go into ASI. And I said, okay, well, like what is ASI? Like another distribution type thing? And they said, no, this is, it's kind of like the Amazon, like you said, of promotional products. And took me a little bit of time to get to ASI, but finally did in I think November of last year. And since then we've worked with, a lot of distributors, Scarborough and Tweed, Promo Shop, Harper and Scott, which has been our best by far, and Halo, and everyone in between, right? Those are just some off the top of my
Right.
head. So a
Right.
lot of deals. and we just did our first show at Fort Worth with ASI, and that was great. That's
That's
kind of
great.
how I came into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've only been in this industry or known of this industry for a very short time.
Yes, yeah. I would, I guess I knew of it when in 2020, but didn't really know too much until about last year.
Okay. So are you so did you get a patent on this product? Is this something that you invented? So tell me a little bit about the product itself and how you came up with
Yeah,
the idea.
so yeah, thank you. So basically what it is think of like your magic bullet or your blender at home, but without the cord. So you could bring it anywhere you wanted. It's totally portable. You could have it on your desk and blend up wherever you wanted. And while I was in college, we created a provisional patent for it. And there's patents surrounding basically the blade construction and what the overall design looks like. In terms of the actual features inside of it, those were all pretty already widely in use. It's the chips. You just have to make the chips function in a certain way that you want. The
Sure.
motor is pretty standard. The battery is just lithium ion rechargeable, right? So that was all pretty much there already, and we just had to configure that into the overall design.
Okay.
But really, what sets us apart is one, it's those blades. So those blades are designed to crush ice and frozen fruits. We have something called like a no mess spout top. And basically what that is instead of having to screw off the top and drink from it, you can just pop open the top and there's like this little spout you can drink from it. And then we also offer a little container, which is two pieces, and those two pieces come apart or come together to form like a powder case to carry stuff in to for maybe frozen fruits, right? So you could blend up, take these two pieces apart, put them on the table. You could flip it over, screw off the blending base, have that on the desk, then take one of the pieces, screw down the bottom, and now you have a water bottle.
Okay.
And then you
Wow.
take the other piece, which is like a blade cover, and then you screw that on the blending base, and now you can throw that in your bag. So it's
So
like a two-in-one blender and water bottle.
so you came up with all this based on your need as a consumer of shakes and protein, I guess stuff that you use after your workout. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's who it was for primarily. Is I just someone who was like me that wanted like a smoothly mixed protein shake. It sounds so
Sure.
trivial, but to be honest, it was gross just eating like my protein clumps, and that I figured that the use cases could be way more than just protein
Sure.
shakes.
Sure. So are you a tinkerer by nature? Or are you somebody who likes to um, try to figure out problems and create things for like products, for instance? Is that something that's in your nature, or did you just kind of have this epiphany and you said, you know what, this is something that the world needs, and I want to take a shot at this?
No, I was never a tinkerer. I used to like build the building blocks as a kid, I suppose. But yeah, not much of a product tinkerer. I was mostly just a bodybuilder in the health space, like very health focused, and still try to be now. But had my own eBay store at the time, so I guess I liked having a side income or business, and I knew a little
Sure.
bit of how to sell a product, but never knew how to build a company or brand or anything like that, and just had the epiphany and
That's
said, "This could
awesome.
be great."
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And it was, what's that phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. That's your perfect example of that. You saw a need for something that would benefit yourself, and then you came up with the idea. And you're like, "Hey, I'm not the only one that could use this." And here you are. We're having this conversation today. You're in the promotional product space again. We're talking to John Katz from Portable Blending Supplier, Blendy. So I first discovered you because you were using the Facebook forums in our industry, PPP, also ASI member exclusive group, to really promote your product. How have these forums themselves, the Facebook forums, benefited your business, and how do you use social media for your business? I'll ask you the first question about the forums themselves.
Yeah, so the forums again, I came onto that so late. I mean, it was very odd that I came across that so late. And I forget who I was talking to that recommended I do that. But since being in those forums, both groups have been great, and I've even gotten potential business for them. So
Sure.
can't stress that highly enough. And the advice and connections I've already made have been phenomenal. I mean, I could name people, but there would be too many to name. And and I've spoken with distributors, suppliers, sales, multi-line reps, right? Everybody who has a say in the industry, and it's been helpful just because I knew like the bare minimum, but now I have a deeper knowledge of how everything works, and it's been great. I got great advice to go to the ASI Fort Worth show, and it was very helpful in that regard.
Yeah, I think that if you ask me today, if you asked me 10 years ago, I would give the same advice for anyone who's joining this industry, they're new, join the Facebook groups because they're so helpful in that people are so willing to help you. They're willing to go in and give you advice, whether or not they're they're a fellow supplier, they're a distributor. They're going to help you as much as they can in these forums. You learn a lot through others' experience in this industry, and we have a lot of people in this industry with a lot of experience. So, and they're all in those forums. They get in there and they're helping each other, and that's really, I think, a sweet spot for anybody who is limited with social media time. If you're going to spend your time somewhere, spend them in the forums because they can be very helpful.
Yeah,
And I
and
noticed,
and know what questions to ask too.
right, right.
Yeah.
And what I liked about what you were doing in those forums is that anytime anyone responded, didn't matter if it was a simple answer, you were going in there and you were also responding to their response, which showed that you cared, and it helped you forge potential connections. People were learning who you were, they're getting to know you, and if they have any future need for your business, they know you because they're in the forums, they're making connections with you. And that's the beauty of Facebook groups. I think the Facebook groups are really where people in this industry are doing business. And not only this industry, other industries as well. But certainly I see it every day. People are making connections, they're networking, and they're using those Facebook groups.
Yeah, and I'll give I guess, two pieces, of stuff that I learned is one of the people who responded in the PPP group turned out to be somebody I was in the booth next to at the ASI Fort Worth
Oh
show.
wow, okay.
And I go, "Hey, didn't you respond on my Facebook post?" And he goes, "Yeah, that was me." So that was funny. But two, see, I guess as from a supplier standpoint or manufacturing standpoint, if you can if you can ask questions in a way that eludes people to ask about your product or line that you're representing, that also probably will bode well for you as it has for me, because I've gotten so many messages still now as requests coming in from people like, "Hey, saw you needed, let's say, a multi-line rep, but are you working with any projects right now? Here, can you help me with this?" So it's
Right.
good for them.
And we do have a question from Mark Wesley, who says, "What are some of the top Facebook groups to start with?" Well, we're talking about promotional products industry, Mark, and I'm assuming that you're in that industry, but we can't assume because we have a lot of followers who are not in this industry. But for us in the promo industry, promotional products professionals is a group that you can join. Also, if you're an ASI member, you can go into the ASI member exclusive group. You have to be an ASI member to get into that group, but both of those groups themselves are very, very helpful. So get into those, and there are so many others as well. What I would do is go into the search bar and just type in promotional products groups, and you'll probably find a whole bunch. A lot of the big distributors have their own groups themselves. If you're part of a bigger distributor network, certainly you can find them in there. But John, back to the social media. How does social media also factor into your marketing? Do you use social media? Do you have a presence on any of the networks? How do you use it other than using the groups?
I wish. I feel like I do a lot of business through my personal Facebook. But in terms of social media on like a product and brand standpoint, not. I wish I could, do more with it, but I just truly don't. I bet TikTok could be really great for us, but probably more in the direct to consumer
Sure.
standpoint and branding standpoint. In terms of business to business, I guess, but more so for the direct to consumer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, when you're a small business like you are, where you're, one, two people, the biggest challenge is to find the time to do social media. And
Yeah.
that's, to me, I feel like you can't just do it willy nilly. You can't just get in, create a presence and just leave it dormant. that can be worse than having no presence at all. And I encourage people, hey, if you don't have time for it, don't create social media profiles, because it looks bad on your company if you haven't updated since 4 or 5 years ago. It doesn't look good. So you have to have the time to do it. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of small businesses, distributors, suppliers, whoever. The challenge is actually, you know, having the time to go in and do that. So yeah, believe me, you're not the only one. You're not the only person I've spoken to who was like, I just don't have time for it. Hey, it could help your business, but like I said, if you don't have time for it and you don't have the resources to invest in it, it's better to not have a presence than it is to have a dormant one.
Totally.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you about Fort Worth. You were there last month. Wow, last month already.
Yeah.
Time is flying. 2023 is, we're almost into March. But anyway,
Yeah.
you were at Fort Worth. So tell me a little bit about that experience. What your impression was of the trade show and what you learned.
Yeah, so Fort Worth had never been there. I'd been to Dallas, but Fort Worth was new. I actually didn't know really the difference between the two, so I felt I was very, naive going in. So it was great. The ASI did a fantastic job putting it on. I would say the branding was almost over the top. I mean, you all had a schedule for Monday. There was like a massive installment on the floor. It was kind of wild.
Hmm,
So many things to do, especially from the distributor side. There was a lot of education in terms
sure.
of new products, and I found that was really cool too. It didn't apply to me too much, but it was still good nonetheless. The two speakers that you all had at the show were great. It was she was speaking about AI, which was
Marky Lemons
very,
Ryle.
yes,
She
and
was
that was
awesome.
very,
Yeah,
yeah, it was very poignant, and it was even stuff I didn't know, and I was pretty much on
sure.
top of the whole
Yeah.
thing going on. Um,
And then
and then
Charlotte Jones, I believe it was.
that's
Yep.
right. Yeah, she was great as well. Yeah, and then she gave that helmet away, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual show, I did use the promotional products, professionals, and the ASI one. I think I double posted, and I just said, hey, what are some good tips for the show? And a lot of them just stay off your phone and engage with everybody and such. And that those were really good. It's stuff that you kind of already know, but it's good to have a reminder of, and try to embrace as much as possible. We met with a lot of distributors, and to scan everybody was like even a task. It was pretty crazy. They were coming in fast and furious. But yeah, I was able to follow up with everybody after the show, and the follow up I think is probably the most key part from the
Sure.
supplier and
Sure.
manufacturing standpoint. But yeah, we did a lot. It was great. Met a lot of people.
That's great, and I love that you used the forums before the trade show, and I think that's a great piece of advice for anybody who's new in this industry, is to get into those forums, and especially during right before a trade show, try to network, try to get to know people before you actually go to the trade show completely blind. Find out what it is that you can expect at these trade shows, how you can approach them, whether or not you're a supplier, you're a distributor. What are the best practices? And I think that is going to be very helpful for somebody who's new to, like yourself, in this industry. What to expect? What should I do? In terms of presenting myself in the booth, what are best practices? There's so much that goes on at these shows. And it can be very, very intimidating and intense. And for somebody who's been in a few shows, I'm not a distributor, I'm not a supplier. When I go to these shows, I observe, but I'm like, wow, it can be pretty intense. There's a lot going on at these shows. So
There is.
using those forums to help sort of get a feel of what to expect is key. So anybody who's new, great advice. Just go into those forums and learn, and lean on your peers and for some advice. Now, I want to ask you about some of the best pieces of advice that you got from those forums when you were asking people, what can I expect at a trade show? So what were some of those?
Yeah, and one last piece of advice for the show that was really awesome was the one of the, I think the last day or the day before the last day, there was a post show party kind of thing, like almost like a mingle with
Sure.
food at a bar. That was fantastic. Like highly highly recommend at any, any stage you're at to go to that and any part of the process for sure. That was great. Um, oh, one of the best ones actually was interesting. So it said, "Don't just grab my badge and scan it without my permission while I'm talking to you."
Yeah,
There was actually a lot of opportunities to do that, and I held myself back a lot. So that actually probably was the best piece of advice outside of the conventional ones. And I only scan people's badges if they asked me to, or if we were engaging in good conversation. Um, what was interesting was that sometimes people would just come over and just go like this to me with their badge, and then they'd be like, "Here, scan it," or they wouldn't even say anything. They would just look at me, hold it up, and then walk away. And I thought that was odd slash
yeah.
interesting. And
I
yeah,
know. No,
someone said,
no
yeah,
conversation, nothing. It just scan my badge, and it's
yes,
just so.
so transactional.
Yeah, it makes to me it makes no sense. It's just like, hey, have a conversation, talk to each other, find out how you can potentially work with each other. What's the relationship? To me, I feel like that's part of why we do these trade shows, especially since COVID. It's like it's important for face to face time. We're learning that even doing it remotely, it's not the same thing. People want to engage. They want to look you in the eye, and they want to talk to you. And I think that's what makes our industry so great, is that the relationships that we build are forged by the conversations that we have with each other. And the best conversations, I think, happen in person. That's just me personal.
Yes,
So
yes, and smile is a good one.
yeah,
Your
smile's
your
always a good one. Yeah.
your face should probably hurt at the end of the day.
And your
Um,
feet, and your face are going to hurt,
yes,
because
yes,
I've been to several of them, and I can vouch for how much my feet hurt at the end of walking those show
they do.
floors. As a supplier, you get to kind of stand there for instead of walking as much. But to me, I feel like if you're a distributor, if you're anybody who's walking those show floors, you're going to be in pain, especially after 3 days.
Yes, 100%. And from a supplier standpoint, one of the pieces of advice someone gave was, don't judge it by the number of scans that happen on the floor. Most of the money is made, and the progress is made off the show floor. And if you could make 4 to 5 real good contacts with your time there, then that's great, and that will pay dividends.
So, have you made some good contacts from that show?
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, we had one distributor order like 6 units, all samples of each color, and that's a good contact. They're in touch, and you can tell who's the most engaged because they're already sending me a lot of clients to do, and those are people that I remember from the show, and those are great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
No, finish your thought.
there was so many other ones. There was basically just stay off your phone, of course. Make sure you have business cards. The business cards, I'm a culprit of not having them. I just
Yeah,
like to get people's LinkedIn if I can,
sure.
or I just scan it because if I can scan their thing, it's almost the same thing as a business card. I'm
Hmm.
going to follow up anyways.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but yeah, a lot of them were basically like smile, make sure you engage, and actually listen to them. Don't just scan them. So those
Yeah.
were pretty much the basis of most of them.
That's great advice. All that advice is great for any supplier, not just a new supplier. Uh, so, John, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. And before I let you go, I have some other questions I want to ask you. These are
Yeah.
questions that you have no knowledge of. So I just wanted to kind of open it up, find out a little bit more about yourself, see where your head's at, have you think on your feet a little bit. So here's my first question for you. If you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Probably like to hire people, I would say.
Okay,
More inventory, 100%. A house for myself, a house for my family, my mom, and a new car. I need a new car desperately.
I love that.
Um,
I love that
yeah,
answer. Reinvent, like invest into your business. Perfect. Take care of your family. Boom. I like
yeah,
it. Says a lot about your character there. To me, some people might say, "Oh, I'm going to go to a desert, or I'm going to go to an island, and I'm going to, spend my money on it." But look, I like that. You're gonna, $10 million. Hey, $10 million isn't what it was back in the '80s. You can't just retire on $10 million. I mean, you could, but to me, I think you're a young guy. Invest in the business, take care of your family. It's all good. I like that
Yeah, I
answer.
think after taxes, you'd probably have like 6 or 7 million left anyway. So
I
you
know
just
it's
lost
not
three
as
million.
much as you think it is.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to business?
Oh, that's a good question. Hmm.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I have pet peeves in personal, like
Well, let's hear that one.
yeah, I hate when people chew with their mouth open. That's got to be the worst one. I wish people learned their manners maybe as they're a kid, but
That's always good. Yeah.
oof, in business, I don't know. Maybe the fact like of people either not. I don't like when people disregard questions in emails. Like I wish people would just if I'm like answering or I have questions in emails. Sometimes if there's two questions, I'll answer one, and I'm like, okay, did you not see the other one? And maybe just asking for too much or disregarding policy and kind of I don't know. Like if we have a no free sample policy, but you're asking for a free sample and then being rude about it, that is not the best either. That's a pet
Okay.
peeve for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe stuff like that for sure.
Good to
Yeah.
know. My last question. This is one I tend to ask everyone because I'm a big movie guy. What's your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, that's easy. So it's Click. I love Click with Adam Sandler.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's by no means the best movie on the earth, like on the planet. It's not known for its cinema. Like there's nothing extraordinary about it. I just love the idea that of the lessons it taught, which might sound so corny because he wakes up from a dream, right, and it's all
Right.
over. But basically, the premise is he meets he sleeps in a bed because he's so tired from work and his family, so he sleeps in Bed Bath and Beyond in a bed. He's dreaming, but you don't know that he's dreaming. Goes into Bed Bath and Beyond, so he goes to Beyond Park, gets this remote, and is able to fast forward and go back in his life. And so he basically the story is he just keeps fast forwarding to the point where it's on autopilot, and so it just keeps fast forwarding for him without it,
Right.
without him telling it to. And so he's getting older and older and missing out on stuff and stuff. And then eventually he dies, and he goes, "What happened to like my whole life?"
Huh.
And so I thought it was great because he even missed his own dad's death. He didn't even know about that. And so what I thought was so great is like you can get into this mode where you're just working, going all the time, and you're not calling your mom, or you're not being a good husband or wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be,
Right.
or a good son or daughter, right? But you got to just kind of slow down and take some time to think about those things. And I think that movie was great, and I always come back to it as much as I can.
Huh. Well, that's crazy. I never would have thought somebody would have Click on their favorite movie of all time. But
Yes.
certainly that's a movie that, even though it's a comedy, it's one of those movies where it makes you stop and think, to take every day as it comes, try to find enjoyment in the little things. Call your mom. I called my mom yesterday. It was Valentine's Day. I was like, I'm gonna call
Yeah.
my mom. I got to call her on Valentine's Day. But John, this has been a great conversation. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do so?
Oh, you can shoot me an email. It's just JON at Blendy Blender. Blendy is BLENDI blender.com. You can follow me on social media. I'll answer your DMs if you'd like. It's just JON Katz KATZ 96.
Awesome, John. Any final thoughts for anybody who's new to this industry?
Man, it's crazy. There's so much to learn, right? But try and navigate it the best you can. As somebody who's on the supplier side slash manufacturing, I would probably say your best bet is to try to do more with less. What I mean by that is have people do the work for you in a good way, of course, right? So, if, for example, using multi-line reps, they can do a better job selling, and they have all the connections than you don't, right? When you don't, so they can sell it for you, and that's the best way to do it. That's what I found navigating the wholesale markets, which is selling directly to retailers, right? Was just have reps go out and sell it for you. Of course, you're going to pay a commission, but it's more than worth it.
Sure, sure. Awesome. John, thank you again so much. I know you're busy. You're a small business owner, but your 30 minutes today is has been great. A lot of great advice there for anyone who's new in this industry, either supplier, distributor, and you want to use social media. Get into those Facebook forums; those are gold. So, for John, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next time on the social angle.
Thank you.